I'm here in Chicago at the American Society of Clinical Oncology. We just had a wonderful session in multiple myeloma with very new therapies described. In particular, Dr. Lonial gave us the updates on the new CELMoD or the new IMiD. People will know the drugs of lenalidomide, pomalidomide. Now we have a new one called iberdomide, which actually is showing very impressive results. 30% response rates overall, including in patients who've had prior IMiDs, lenalidomide, pomalidomide, and including patients who've had prior daratumumab. No differences in the response rates in all those patients. The interesting part about this new drug is that it actually targets cereblon much deeper than what we have now, and so it actually is very active even in cell lines and in patients who have very low expression of cereblon, which in theory would be very beneficial to those patients that are failing the other drugs. So I think lots to come from iberdomide in the future, and I think it will eventually hopefully replace one of these other drugs. The other very exciting immunotherapy that has come out of this year's ASCO was from Dr. Topp, when he talked to us about AMG 420, which is a bispecific antibody to BCMA and CD3. And so this is what we call a T-cell redirecting therapy. These are antibodies that bind both myeloma cells via BCMA as well as the T cells via CD3. By binding both, they activate the T cells, which then go and kill the myeloma cell. They presented on the dose escalation of their patients. 42 patients were treated, but particularly they found that their MTD was 400 micrograms via continuous infusion per day. And at the MTD of 400, they treated 10 patients, and 7 of those patients had a response rate of 70%, which is quite impressive. 5 of those 7 patients actually had CR with MRD negativity at 10 to the minus 4. So again, very impressive results. There were some very odd toxicities that they described, so those need to be ironed out a little more. But there was some cytokine release syndrome, which is expected, but then they had 2 patients with peripheral neuropathies, more of a Guillain-Barré type syndrome that have not been described before, which we'll have to kind of look into more. And then there were a couple of infections that were unusual, such as adenovirus and aspergillosis, that again will need to be kind of looked into a little further. But very exciting therapy, very active, and it's kind of joining the other BCMA-directed therapies that are out there, including the ADC or antibody drug conjugate against BCMA, as well as many of the CAR T cells against BCMA. So very exciting times for myeloma.